Have you ever been in a situation where you said something in the heat of the moment and instantly regretted it? Maybe you snapped at a colleague during a stressful meeting or overreacted to a minor criticism from a friend. In that split second, you could feel the respect others had for you begin to evaporate. We've all been there, those moments when our emotions take over and we undermine the very respect we've worked so hard to build. It's frustrating, disheartening, and it leaves you wondering if there's a better way to navigate life's challenges without sacrificing your dignity or the regard of those around you. What if I told you there's an ancient philosophy, tested by time and practiced by some of history's most respected leaders, that offers a clear path to earning and maintaining long-term respect? This isn't about manipulation or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about cultivating inner strength, clarity, and emotional resilience, qualities that naturally command respect from others. Stoicism, a school of thought that originated in ancient Greece and Rome, provides timeless principles and practical patterns for living with purpose, integrity, and poise. These patterns aren't abstract ideas. They're actionable steps you can incorporate into your daily life to transform how you respond to pressure, interact with others, and present yourself to the world. In this video, we're going to explore 25 Stoic patterns that have the power to build lasting respect, not through loud declarations or aggressive behavior, but through quiet confidence, consistent action, and unwavering character. These patterns will help you develop the kind of presence that draws people in, fosters trust, and earns you admiration in your personal and professional life. Whether you're looking to strengthen your relationships, enhance your leadership skills, or simply become a more grounded and respected version of yourself, these insights will provide you with a roadmap. So, if you're ready to leave those moments of regret behind and step into a more respected, confident, and purposeful way of living, let's begin this journey together. The first and perhaps most foundational pattern is the practice of meticulous self-control. This isn't about suppressing who you are, but rather about mastering your initial, often unhelpful reactions. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most famous Stoics, constantly reminded himself of this in his private journal, which we now know as Meditations. He wrote to himself about the importance of not being puppeted by your impulses and to check your emotions at the door. He was the most powerful man in the known world, yet his greatest battle was the one he fought within his own mind. Why would a man with absolute power be so focused on self-control? Because he understood that true authority doesn't come from the ability to command others, but from the ability to command oneself. In our modern world, this translates directly to earning long-term respect. Think about a leader you truly admire. It's likely not the one who shouts the loudest or makes snap decisions in a crisis. The leader you respect is probably the one who remains calm when everyone else is panicking, who listens before speaking, and who responds thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally. This demonstration of emotional maturity signals to everyone around them that this person is reliable. They are a steady hand on the wheel, and people are naturally drawn to that stability. They know that this person won't be swayed by gossip, won't crumble under pressure, and won't make a difficult situation worse with an unpredictable outburst. This pattern plays out in our personal interactions every single day. Imagine you receive a frustrating email from a colleague that feels unfairly critical. The impulsive reaction is to fire off a defensive reply, maybe even seeing a manager to prove your point. That feels powerful in the moment, but it often erodes respect. The person who practices self-control, guided by Stoic principle, would pause. They might close the laptop, take a walk, or simply wait an hour. In that space, they choose a response over a reaction. They might ask clarifying questions or schedule a calm conversation. That simple act of restraint demonstrates immense strength. It shows you are governed by reason, not by emotion. People begin to trust your judgment implicitly because they know you won't be hijacked by a passing feeling. you become someone others can depend on, and that is the very bedrock of lasting respect. Now, let's consider a pattern that might seem counterintuitive at first, but is profoundly powerful for building the kind of character that earns deep, unwavering respect. This is the practice of embracing voluntary discomfort. While the first pattern of self-control is about managing your internal reactions, this second pattern is about proactively strengthening your capacity to handle those reactions by conditioning your mind and body for adversity. The Stoic philosopher Seneca was a powerful advocate for this idea. He argued that we should periodically practice poverty, or deliberately choose a harder path, not because we have to, but precisely because we don't. He wrote that we must set aside a certain number of days during which we shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to ourselves the while, "Is this the condition that I feared? Why would anyone willingly choose discomfort?" The purpose isn't to suffer for suffering's sake, but to build a powerful form of insurance against future misfortune. It's a vaccination for the soul. By voluntarily experiencing small, manageable hardships, you build a resilience that makes actual hardships feel far less intimidating. You prove to yourself that you can handle difficulty, and that proof radiates outward, becoming visible to everyone around you. This practice demonstrates a unique form of grit and preparedness that is incredibly respected. It shows you are not soft, not entitled, and not someone who will fall apart the moment things don't go your way. Think about the most respected figures in any field: the athlete who trains in the rain, the entrepreneur who forgoes a salary to build their company, the artist who works a night job to fund their passion. We respect them immensely because their commitment is visible. They are building their resilience muscle every single day. You can incorporate this into your own life in simple, practical ways. It doesn't require moving into a shack. It can be as straightforward as taking a cold shower in the morning, choosing to walk or bike instead of driving for short trips, fasting from social media or rich foods for a set period, or even volunteering for a difficult project at work that others are avoiding. Each of these small acts is a declaration of independence from your own comfort. It's you telling yourself and showing the world that your peace of mind and your capabilities are not dependent on perfect external conditions. When people see you consistently choosing the harder right over the easier wrong, or willingly stepping into challenge, they recognize a strength of character that is both rare and admirable. This pattern builds respect because it shows you are built for more than just fair weather. You are someone who can be counted on when the storm finally hits. This brings us to a third pattern, one that is arguably the cornerstone of the entire Stoic philosophy, and a monumental shift in perspective for anyone who embraces it. This is the practice of focusing only on what you can control. The Stoic teacher Epictetus, who was born a slave, introduced this concept as the dichotomy of control, and he framed it as the most critical discipline to master. He taught that some things are within our power: our opinions, our impulses, our desires, our aversions. In short, whatever is our own doing. Everything else is not within our power: our body, our property, our reputation, our command, and in a word, whatever is not our own doing. His entire system of living a good and free life was built upon this single, crucial distinction. Why is this such a powerful pattern for building respect? Because constantly worrying about things outside of your control is a recipe for anxiety, frustration, and ultimately ineffectiveness. It makes you seem scattered, reactive, and perpetually victimized by circumstances. On the other hand, the person who instantly recognizes what is and isn't theirs to manage projects an aura of immense capability and calm rationality. They don't waste energy complaining about the weather, the traffic, a difficult client, or a competitor's success. Instead, they immediately channel all of their focus and effort into the one thing they always have authority over: their own response. This isn't passivity, it's the ultimate form of strategic action. It's about identifying the smallest circle of influence you have in any situation and pouring your entire being into maximizing it. Think about two colleagues facing the same company-wide layoff. One spends their days in the break room lamenting the unfair economy, criticizing management's short-sightedness, and worrying endlessly about what might happen. The other acknowledges the reality of the situation, something entirely outside their control, and immediately turns their attention inward. They focus on what they can control, updating their resume, reaching out to their network, honing a new skill online, and performing exceptionally in their current role to make themselves as indispensable as possible. Who commands more respect in that scenario? The first person is seen as a source of negativity and fear. The second is admired for their poise, proactivity, and unwavering focus on solutions. Their energy is attractive and inspiring to others, making them a natural leader even in times of crisis. This pattern transforms how you are perceived in everyday interactions. If a project fails due to a market shift you couldn't have predicted, do you dwell on the external factors, or do you immediately conduct a personal after-action review, focusing on what you learned, how you led, and what skills you can improve for next time? The latter approach demonstrates a level of maturity and self-awareness that is incredibly rare. It shows you are not a person who makes excuses. You are a person who takes ownership, even when ownership only extends to your own judgments and efforts. People begin to trust your stability because they know you won't be knocked off course by every unexpected event. You become anchored in your own agency, and that kind of unwavering focus is a magnet for long-term respect, as it proves you are the author of your own character, regardless of the chaos unfolding around you. While self-mastery and a focus on what you can control build an unshakable internal foundation, the next pattern is how you project that strength to the world through your words. This brings us to the fourth Stoic pattern, speaking with purpose and brevity. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno of Citium, placed enormous importance on this. He famously compared speech to a precious coin. We should use it sparingly and with great value, never wasting it on trivialities or devaluing it with carelessness. The Stoics believed that most people talk too much and say too little, filling the air with gossip, complaints, and empty promises that erode their credibility. In contrast, the person who weighs their words carefully and speaks only when they have something meaningful to add commands a room with their silence as much as with their speech. This practice goes far beyond simply being quiet. It's about cultivating intentionality in every conversation. Before speaking, the Stoic asks themselves a few crucial questions. Is what I'm about to say true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? This filter prevents the spread of misinformation, stops unnecessary conflicts before they start, and ensures your words build people up rather than tear them down. When you consistently apply this standard, people learn that your word is your bond. They know that if you say something, it has been carefully considered and can be trusted. This builds a reputation for incredible integrity. In a world saturated with constant noise and hot takes, the person who speaks sparingly but with profound clarity becomes a beacon of reliability. Consider the difference between two managers in a meeting. One dominates the discussion, offering opinions on every topic, brainstorming aloud, and frequently interrupting others. Their contributions are plentiful but often redundant or off-topic. The other manager listens intently, only speaking when they have distilled a complex idea into a crystal-clear summary or have a crucial insight that moves the discussion forward. Their words are few, but each one carries significant weight and direction. Which leader does the team truly listen to? Which one earns respect through their communication? The second manager, by embodying this Stoic pattern, demonstrates respect for everyone's time and intelligence. Their silence is not seen as a lack of ideas, but as a sign of deep engagement and thought. When they do speak, everyone leans in because they know it will be important. This pattern also serves as a powerful shield against the drama and gossip that can poison workplaces and social circles. The Stoic understands that participating in gossip is not a harmless pastime. It's a direct assault on your own character and the trust others place in you. If you are willing to speak poorly of someone who isn't present, everyone listening will rightly assume you will do the same to them when they leave the room. By choosing not to engage, by politely changing the subject or simply remaining silent, you broadcast a powerful message about your own trustworthiness. You become a safe harbor, a confidant, and a person of discretion. People will feel comfortable sharing ideas with you because they know their words are safe. This level of earned trust is a fundamental pillar of deep, long-term respect, proving that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Building on the practice of intentional speech, the fifth pattern delves even deeper into the Stoic arsenal for crafting a character that withstands any storm, the deliberate cultivation of inner resilience. This isn't about simply bouncing back from hardship. It's about proactively building a psychological fortress so strong that hardship struggles to find a way in. The Stoics developed a powerful mental toolkit for this, and one of their most famous and seemingly counterintuitive techniques is known as premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils or negative visualization. This practice involves regularly and vividly imagining the things you fear losing or the worst-case scenarios that could unfold. A Stoic might spend a few moments each day contemplating the loss of their job, the end of a cherished relationship, or even their own mortality. Now, this might sound like a recipe for anxiety and depression, but when done correctly, it has the opposite effect. The purpose isn't to dwell in fear, but to disarm it. By mentally rehearsing adversity, you accomplish two profound things. First, you reduce the shock and terror of a negative event if it actually happens. You've already walked through the scenario in your mind, so it feels less like a catastrophic ambush and more like a challenge you have, in some way, prepared for. Second, and more importantly, it fosters a deep and overwhelming sense of gratitude for the present moment. By imagining life without your health, your home, or your loved ones, you suddenly see the incredible fortune of having them right now, today. This isn't pessimism, it's the ultimate gratitude hack. The Roman philosopher Seneca was a master of this. Despite his immense wealth and power as an advisor to Emperor Nero, he consistently practiced losing it all. He wrote, "We should project our thoughts ahead of us at every turn and have in mind every possible eventuality instead of only the usual course of events. Rehearse them in your mind: exile, torture, war, shipwreck." He wasn't inviting misery, he was building immunity. By staring into the abyss voluntarily, he ensured the abyss could never stare back into him uninvited. This mental preparation meant that when he was eventually forced to commit suicide on Nero's orders, he faced his end with legendary calmness and grace, comforting his grieving friends. That is the power of a resilience built through disciplined practice. In our modern lives, this translates directly into a demeanor that commands immense respect, especially during a crisis. Think about the colleague who remains the calm, logical center of the room when a major project is suddenly cancelled or a critical system fails. While others are gripped by panic, complaining about the injustice or spiraling into worry about their job security, this individual is already focused on solutions. They aren't unaffected by the event, but their emotional response is measured and productive. Their resilience wasn't built in that moment. It was built during all those mornings they spent mentally preparing for a moment just like this. They had already accepted the possibility of failure, so when it arrived, they could immediately engage their problem-solving skills without being paralyzed by fear. This cultivated resilience makes you a pillar others can lean on. People are instinctively drawn to those who exhibit stability in chaos. They look to you for cues on how to react. Your calmness becomes contagious, and your ability to navigate the crisis without falling apart earns you not just respect, but deep admiration and trust. You become the person everyone knows they can count on when things are at their worst, and that reputation is priceless. It shows that your strength isn't a fair weather facade. It's a core part of your character, forged in the quiet moments of mental preparation long before the storm ever appeared on the horizon. This brings us to a sixth pattern, one that navigates the delicate and often misunderstood space between cold indifference and emotional overwhelm. This is the practice of empathy without losing objectivity. The Stoics were not the unfeeling robots they are sometimes made out to be. In fact, they placed a high value on our shared humanity and the duty we have to one another. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that unjust people act out of ignorance, not malice, and that we are all made for cooperation like feet, hands, and eyelids. This is a profound call for empathy to strive to understand the why behind another person's actions. However, the Stoic crucial twist is that this understanding must not come at the expense of your own rational judgment and emotional equilibrium. You can seek to understand another's perspective without being compelled to adopt their emotional state as your own. This balanced approach is a magnet for respect because it combines the best of two worlds, the warmth of compassion and the strength of principle. It allows you to connect with people on a human level while ensuring you remain a steady, reliable guide rather than getting lost in the storm with them. Think of a doctor in an emergency room. The most respected physician is not the one who breaks down sobbing alongside a grieving family. That would only add to the chaos. Nor is it the one who treats a broken arm with cold, clinical detachment, making the patient feel like a number. The doctor we truly admire is the one who can look a patient in the eye, acknowledge their fear and pain with genuine compassion, and then calmly and expertly do what needs to be done to help them. They understand the emotion without being derailed by it. Their objectivity is not a lack of care, it is the very instrument of their care. In our daily interactions, this pattern manifests as the ability to listen deeply to someone's frustrations or problems without feeling the immediate pressure to fix it for them or to take on their negativity. Imagine a team member comes to you, extremely upset about a decision from upper management. The emotionally reactive response would be to match their anger, fueling the fire with your own complaints, which might feel supportive in the moment but ultimately just creates a spiral of shared frustration. The unempathetic response would be to dismiss their concerns entirely, telling them to just get over it. The Stoic approach, practicing empathy with objectivity, would be to first listen actively and validate their feelings. I can see why that feels incredibly frustrating, and it makes sense that you're upset. This validation builds immediate trust and connection. Then, instead of staying in the emotional space, you gently guide the conversation toward reason and agency. You might ask, given that this decision is made, what parts of this situation do we still have control over? What's one small step we can take to move forward productively? This method earns immense respect because it shows you as both a compassionate confidant and a rational problem solver. People feel heard and understood by you, which builds deep relational bonds, but they also see that you are not easily swayed by emotional tides. You become a grounding wire. They know that when they bring a problem to you, they won't simply get a sympathetic ear. They will get a clear-headed partner who helps them find a path forward without being dragged into the drama. This prevents you from becoming an enabler of negativity or a target for emotional manipulation, as you maintain healthy boundaries by focusing on what is rational and actionable. Ultimately, this pattern demonstrates that your greatest strength lies in your ability to understand the human heart without losing your own mind, a combination that is both rare and deeply respected. This next pattern cuts straight to the heart of how character is truly built and recognized by others, moving beyond what we say into the undeniable truth of what we do. It's the discipline of leading by example, not by words. The Stoics were deeply skeptical of lofty speeches and grand promises that weren't backed by consistent action. Epictetus, who taught from a position of having very little worldly power, was particularly dismissive of those who would talk about virtue without embodying it. He famously said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." His point was that your life should be a transparent demonstration of your values, making any lengthy explanation or justification completely unnecessary. Your actions become your most powerful and persuasive language. This approach is so effective in building respect because it bypasses the skepticism people naturally have toward rhetoric. Anyone can say they are honest, resilient, or fair, but when people consistently see you choosing honesty even when a lie is easier, demonstrating resilience in the face of a setback, and treating everyone with fairness regardless of their status, they have no choice but to believe it. This builds a form of trust that is almost unshakable. You are not asking people to take you at your word. You are providing them with a long, consistent record of evidence that your word is good. This transforms respect from something you request into something you quietly command through the sheer weight of your conduct. Consider a parent trying to teach their child about patience. They can give a wonderful lecture on the importance of waiting calmly and not giving in to frustration. But if that parent then spends the entire car ride home raging at every red light and complaining about slow drivers, the child learns nothing from the lecture and everything from the example. The parent's actions have completely invalidated their words. Now imagine the opposite, a leader at work who consistently preaches the importance of work-life balance. If they send emails at 2 in the morning and never take a day off, their team will see them as a hypocrite and ignore the advice. But if that same leader visibly leaves on time to attend their child's game, respects others' time off by not contacting them, and encourages everyone to use their vacation days, their actions give their words immense power. The team will believe the message because the messenger is authentic. This pattern is ultimately about integrity in its purest form, the state of being whole and undivided, where your beliefs and your behavior are perfectly aligned. When you achieve this, you eliminate a tremendous amount of internal conflict and social friction. You no longer have to remember what you said to whom or put on a different face for different people. You simply are who you are and you act according to your principles. This consistency is incredibly reassuring to others. It makes you predictable in the best possible way. People know exactly what to expect from you and know that your values won't bend for convenience. In a world full of shifting allegiances and situational ethics, becoming a person of unwavering action is like being a lighthouse in a storm. People will naturally gravitate toward your steady, reliable light, and the respect they offer will be deep, authentic, and enduring. Following the principle of leading by action rather than words, we arrive at a pattern that puts that integrity to the test in one of the most vulnerable moments we face. The eighth pattern, which is accepting criticism with grace. For most of us, the initial gut-level reaction to critique is defensiveness. We feel a surge of heat, our heart rate jumps, and our mind immediately races to form a rebuttal, to explain away the feedback or to discredit the person giving it. It's a primal, ego-driven response to a perceived attack. The Stoics, however, reframed criticism not as an attack on our character, but as a priceless and often free gift for self-improvement. Seneca offered a brilliant perspective on this, advising us to ask ourselves a simple question about our critic. What truth is this person speaking? Even if the feedback is delivered poorly, with malice, or is 95% wrong, that remaining 5% might contain a sliver of truth you are blind to. Your job isn't to defend against the 95%. It's to actively mine for that valuable 5%. This approach is transformative because it shifts your role from a defensive fortress under siege to a curious prospector sifting for gold. It moves the entire interaction from an emotional battlefield to a rational exercise in optimization. When you can listen to a piece of criticism, quiet the internal alarm bells, and sincerely ask, "What can I learn from this?" You demonstrate a level of emotional maturity and self-security that is instantly respected. It shows that your commitment to growth is far stronger than your attachment to being right. People might expect a defensive reaction. They are disarmed and impressed by a thoughtful one. This doesn't mean you have to accept every piece of feedback as gospel truth. The Stoic method is to evaluate it rationally. Is it true? Is it from a credible source? Is it something within my control to change? If the answers are yes, then you have just been given a roadmap for getting better. If the answers are no, you can calmly discard it without any emotional turmoil, understanding that the critic's words reflect their own judgments, which are outside your control. Imagine two employees receiving the same critical feedback from their manager about a recent presentation. The first employee immediately interrupts, their face flushed, and begins explaining why the data was incomplete, why the timeline was unreasonable, and how it was actually a colleague's fault. The manager might nod, but internally they've labeled this person as fragile, difficult to coach, and resistant to growth. The second employee, practicing this Stoic pattern, simply listens intently without interrupting. They let the manager finish, then might say, "Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate you taking the time to give it to me directly. Let me reflect on what you've said about the clarity of the data slides, and I'll come back with a revised approach." The difference is staggering. The second employee hasn't admitted to anything they don't believe is true, but they have showcased humility, professionalism, and a genuine desire to improve. The manager will inevitably see that person as confident, coachable, and leadership material. This graceful acceptance of critique builds respect because it proves your ego is not a fragile thing that needs constant protection. It is strong enough to be examined, questioned, and even honed by the feedback of others. It signals to the world that you are more invested in reality and improvement than you are in your own self-image. People will feel safer giving you honest feedback, which accelerates your growth even further, and they will trust you more because they know you can handle difficult truths. In a culture that often values being right over getting better, choosing the Stoic path of gracious acceptance makes you a rare and admired individual, firmly committed to the lifelong project of building a better self. Marcus Aurelius, a man who faced constant political intrigue and the threat of rebellion, understood conflict better than most. Yet in his private writings, he consistently advised himself to approach disagreement not as a battle to be won, but as a problem to be understood. He wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This isn't about passive acceptance, it's a strategic choice to disarm conflict by refusing to mirror its energy. When someone approaches you with anger or accusation, the single most powerful thing you can do is not to match their tone, but to become an island of calm in their storm. This shift in demeanor doesn't signal weakness. It demonstrates a formidable strength that immediately commands respect from everyone involved, including your critic. Staying composed in the heat of an argument requires practical techniques, and the Stoics provided several. Marcus often reminded himself to pause and take a view from above, mentally zooming out from the immediate tension to see the bigger picture. How will this disagreement matter in a week, a month, or a year? This simple act of perspective instantly shrinks most conflicts down to their true, manageable size. Another technique is to consciously separate the person from the problem. The Stoic recognizes that the other person is likely acting from a place of their own pain, fear, or ignorance. Their lashing out is a symptom, not the core issue. By not taking the attack personally, you free up your mental energy to address the actual problem they're trying, however poorly, to highlight. This composed approach earns respect because it transforms the dynamic of the entire interaction. Imagine a common workplace scenario. A colleague publicly challenges your idea in a meeting, their voice sharp with condescension. The natural, ego-driven reaction is to fire back, to defend your position and prove them wrong. This turns the meeting into a tense battleground where everyone chooses sides. Now imagine the alternative. You take a breath, maintaining steady eye contact and a neutral tone. You might say, "I appreciate you pushing on that point. It's important we examine all the risks. Help me understand your specific concern so we can address it." This response does several remarkable things at once. It validates their right to contribute without agreeing with their delivery. It reframes the conflict as a collaborative problem-solving session, and it showcases your emotional control for everyone else in the room. The respect you gain in this moment is multifaceted. The angry colleague, though perhaps initially frustrated by your calm, will often find their own anger has nowhere to land and begins to dissipate. They may even feel a flicker of embarrassment at their own outburst compared to your professionalism. Your peers and superiors in the room will see you as a leader, someone who can handle high-pressure situations with grace and who prioritizes resolution over ego. You become known as a de-escalator, someone who makes difficult conversations safe and productive. This reputation is invaluable, making people more likely to bring you complex problems and trust you with sensitive information, knowing you won't react impulsively. By holding your composure, you don't just resolve the immediate issue, you prevent the long-term relational damage that toxic arguments create, building a foundation of trust that encourages honest, respectful dialogue even when opinions differ. While holding your composure prevents unnecessary conflict, the next pattern actively builds powerful connections that make conflict less likely to begin with. This is the daily practice of gratitude, a habit the Stoics viewed not as a feel-good exercise, but as a fundamental discipline for clear thinking and strong relationships. Seneca, despite his immense wealth and status, dedicated time each day to consciously appreciate what he had. He would write and reflect on his good fortune, understanding that taking things for granted was a fast track to dissatisfaction and entitlement. He saw gratitude as an antidote to the poisonous human tendencies of envy and complaint, which push people away and erode respect. By systematically focusing on what is present and good, rather than what is absent or desired, you cultivate a positive and generous disposition that people are naturally drawn to. The impact of this practice extends far beyond your own internal mood. It radically transforms how you interact with everyone around you. When you genuinely practice gratitude, you stop seeing people as instruments for your own goals or obstacles in your path. You begin to see them as individuals who contribute to your life in both big and small ways. This shift in perception changes your behavior. You start to notice the effort your colleague put into preparing the meeting notes. You acknowledge the barista who made your coffee with care, and you express sincere thanks to your partner for handling a household chore. This consistent acknowledgement makes people feel seen, valued, and respected. It signals that you do not consider their contributions to be your automatic due, and that recognition is a profound form of respect that strengthens social bonds and builds immense goodwill. Consider the contrasting reputations of two leaders. One never comments on a job well done but is quick to point out mistakes. Their team feels their work is invisible, leading to resentment, quiet quitting, and a transactional mentality where people do the bare minimum. The other leader, who has cultivated a Stoic sense of gratitude, makes it a habit to specifically and publicly thank team members for their contributions. This isn't empty flattery, it's a genuine observation of effort and result. The team member who stays late to troubleshoot an issue receives a heartfelt thank you the next morning. The person who cleans the break room without being asked is acknowledged for their initiative. This leader's gratitude is focused on character and action, not just outcome. Their team feels appreciated, which fosters fierce loyalty and a willingness to go the extra mile. They respect their leader not because of their title, but because their leader consistently demonstrates respect for them first. Incorporating this Stoic pattern into your life is simple but transformative. It can be a mental review each evening of 3 specific things you are grateful for that day, or it can be the active discipline of sending one thank you message to a different person each day, expressing what you appreciate about them. The key is specificity. Instead of a generic, "Thanks for your help," try, "I'm really grateful you took the time to walk me through that data set today. Your explanation clarified everything and saved me hours of work." This level of detail proves your gratitude is authentic and attentive. This habitual focus on abundance rather than lack does more than just make you happier. It makes you a source of positive reinforcement and validation for your entire community. People will begin to associate you with appreciation and respect, and they will reflect that same energy back to you, creating a virtuous cycle that solidifies your reputation as a person of depth, character, and genuine warmth. This leads us to a profound Stoic principle that stands as a true test of character, the 11th pattern. This is the conscious choice to prioritize your integrity over the approval of others. The Stoics called this living in accordance with nature and virtue, which meant making decisions based on an internal moral compass rather than the shifting winds of external validation. Marcus Aurelius captured the exhaustion of the alternative perfectly when he wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." He recognized this as a fundamental paradox of human existence. We sacrifice our own self-regard in a desperate pursuit of regard from others, a chase that is ultimately endless and utterly draining. Choosing integrity is not about being stubborn, disagreeable, or dismissing all feedback. It's about having a core set of principles that serve as your non-negotiable guides. Before any decision, big or small, you learn to run it through a simple but powerful filter. Is this action true to my values? Does it align with what I believe is right? If the answer is yes, you proceed, even if you know it might be unpopular, misunderstood, or met with criticism. This unwavering commitment communicates something powerful to the world. It shows that you cannot be bought, bullied, or flattered into compromising who you are. People might not always like your decisions, but they will come to deeply respect the consistency and strength of character behind them. They learn that your yes means yes and your no means no, not because it's convenient, but because it's correct. Imagine a manager faced with a difficult choice. They could easily approve a popular but ethically questionable shortcut that would make their entire team happy and deliver faster results, earning them immediate praise from their superiors. The path of seeking approval is clear and tempting. The path of integrity, however, might mean rejecting that shortcut, explaining the long-term risks to the team, and championing the harder, slower, but right way to do the job. In the short term, this will likely cause grumbling. Some team members may see the manager as difficult or out of touch, but over time, a powerful shift occurs. The team begins to trust that their leader will always choose the right path, even when it's hard. They feel safer because they know their manager won't sacrifice the team's long-term success or their collective integrity for a quick win. That manager's reputation transforms from being a people pleaser to being a person of principle, a reputation that attracts the right kind of people and opportunities while weeding out those who only seek easy answers. This pattern extends into our personal lives with equal force. How often do we silence a truthful opinion in a group conversation simply because it goes against the grain? How frequently do we nod along with gossip we don't agree with just to feel included? Each time we trade a piece of our integrity for a moment of social approval, we weaken our own character and teach people that our convictions are for sale. In contrast, the person who gently but firmly states their contrary viewpoint, or who chooses not to participate in the gossip, might stand out momentarily, but they cast a long shadow of respect. They become known as someone who thinks for themselves, who cannot be easily swayed by the crowd, and whose friendship is valuable because it is real, not manufactured for acceptance. This is how you build a life not of popularity, but of profound and lasting respect, anchored in the unshakable knowledge that you are always guided by your own inner truth. This commitment to a core set of principles naturally fuels the next pattern, which is the active pursuit of continuous learning. The Stoics were, at their heart, philosophers, lovers of wisdom. They understood that wisdom wasn't a destination you arrived at, but a path you walked every single day of your life. Seneca dedicated enormous energy to reading and writing, treating each day as an opportunity to learn something new from others and from his own reflections. He famously said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." This mindset of perpetual growth is a powerful engine for earning respect, as it demonstrates a humble acknowledgement that you don't have all the answers, combined with a proactive drive to find them. It positions you not as a static, finished product, but as a dynamic work in progress, always evolving, adapting, and adding new value to every conversation and collaboration. This goes far beyond simply acquiring new facts or skills for a resume. It's about cultivating a genuine curiosity about the world and the people in it. The person who is always learning listens more than they speak, asks thoughtful questions, and seeks to understand different perspectives. They aren't threatened by not knowing something. They are energized by the chance to fill that gap in their knowledge. In a professional setting, this makes you incredibly valuable. You become the colleague who is always bringing a fresh idea to the table, who has read about an emerging trend, or who has taken an online course to better understand a new technology. You are not content to rest on past successes, and this forward momentum is both inspiring and highly respected. It shows you are invested in your own growth and, by extension, in the growth of the team or company. Consider the stark contrast between two individuals at a social gathering. One dominates conversations, steering every topic back to their own expertise and experiences. They perform knowledge rather than share it. The other moves through the room with a quiet curiosity, asking people about their passions, their work, and what they've been learning lately. They might ask a graphic designer about the principles of good typography or a gardener about companion planting. This person isn't pretending to be interested. They are actively engaging their own desire to learn from the unique expertise of everyone they meet. Who leaves a more lasting, positive impression? Who is genuinely more respected? The second individual makes others feel interesting and valued, and in return, they gather a wide array of insights that make them more interesting and adaptable. This Stoic pattern of lifelong learning also builds profound resilience, which in turn deepens the respect others have for you. In a world that is changing at a breathtaking pace, the ability to adapt is no longer a soft skill. It is a fundamental requirement for success and stability. The individual who clings to outdated methods and dismisses new ideas will inevitably be seen as rigid, obsolete, and difficult to work with. Their respect diminishes as their relevance fades. Conversely, the person who embraces learning as a way of life demonstrates a flexible and robust mindset. When industry disruptions occur or new challenges emerge, they don't panic or resist. They get curious, they research, they ask questions, they experiment, and they adapt. This ability to pivot and grow with the times proves you are a durable asset, someone who can be trusted to navigate the unknown without falling behind. Your commitment to learning signals that you are built for the future, and people will naturally look to you for guidance and stability as the world continues to change around all of us. How many conversations have you been a part of where you weren't truly listening, but simply waiting for your turn to speak? You nod along, but your mind is already crafting your response, your rebuttal, or your own story to share. It's a common trap, but the Stoics understood that this habit is a major roadblock to genuine connection and the deep respect that comes with it. This brings us to our 13th pattern, the disciplined practice of mindful listening. The Stoics viewed conversation not as a competition to be won, but as a collaborative exploration of truth and understanding. To them, giving someone your full, uninterrupted attention was a profound act of respect and a critical tool for gaining wisdom. Epictetus, who spent his life teaching through dialogue, advised his students to be for the most part silent or speak merely what is necessary and in few words. This wasn't about being quiet, it was about creating the space to truly hear what was being said, free from the distraction of your own internal monologue. When you practice mindful listening, you do more than just hear words. You observe body language, you note tone and inflection, and you focus entirely on understanding the complete message the other person is trying to convey. This level of engagement is incredibly rare, and it makes the person speaking feel genuinely valued and respected. They are not just a soundboard for your ideas, they are a person whose thoughts and experiences matter. This builds an immediate foundation of trust and goodwill. People leave conversations with you feeling lighter, more understood, and more positively disposed toward you because you have given them a priceless gift in our distracted world, your complete and undivided presence. It signals that you consider their perspective worthy of your full cognitive resources, which is one of the highest forms of flattery. The benefits of this practice extend far beyond making others feel good. It provides you with a significant strategic advantage in any interaction. By fully absorbing everything the other person is saying without formulating a response, you actually process information more deeply. This allows you to respond not with the first thought that pops into your head, but with the most thoughtful and relevant one. You avoid misunderstandings because you've taken the time to comprehend the nuances. You ask better, more insightful questions that move the conversation forward. In a negotiation, this can mean understanding the underlying concerns of the other party. In a personal relationship, it can mean hearing the unspoken fear behind a partner's complaint. In a team meeting, it means synthesizing everyone's contributions into a cohesive plan. Your responses become more measured, more intelligent, and more impactful, solidifying your reputation as someone who thinks before they speak. To incorporate this Stoic pattern, start by consciously setting an intention before any important conversation. Remind yourself that your primary goal is to understand, not to be understood. When the other person is speaking, if you find your mind starting to wander or craft a reply, gently guide your focus back to their words. A simple technique is to mentally summarize what they've just said before you respond. This forces you to process it and ensures you've understood correctly. You might say, "So if I'm hearing you right, your main concern is that we're moving too quickly without considering the long-term support costs. Is that accurate?" This reflective listening not only confirms your understanding, but also makes the speaker feel profoundly heard. By mastering the art of mindful listening, you transform every conversation from a potential battle of egos into an opportunity for mutual growth and connection, proving that sometimes the most powerful way to elevate your own voice is to first wholeheartedly honor the voice of another. Now, let's consider a pattern that serves as a crucial antidote to one of the most common and corrosive side effects of success: arrogance. This is the 14th pattern, embracing humility in your achievements. The Stoics were deeply aware of how victory and acclaim could inflate the ego and create a brittle, off-putting personality. Seneca, a man who achieved immense wealth and political influence, constantly warned against the intoxicating lure of public praise. He advised to enjoy the gifts of fortune without becoming their slave, reminding himself that all such things are merely on loan and can be taken away at any moment. The Stoic practice was to actively counter the feeling of personal grandeur by consciously acknowledging the role of luck, timing, and the contributions of others in any success. This isn't about false modesty or downplaying your hard work. It's about maintaining a rational and accurate perspective on your place in a vast, interconnected world. This disciplined humility is perhaps one of the most powerful respect-building tools available, especially after a major win. When you achieve something significant, people are watching you closely. They are prepared to either celebrate with you or resent you, and the difference often boils down to your attitude. If you act as if your success was entirely your own doing, a predictable and inevitable result of your genius, you create distance. You invite envy and secretly encourage others to root for your eventual failure, a phenomenon often called tall poppy syndrome. However, if you demonstrate genuine humility, you transform that potential envy into authentic admiration. You show that your character is not dependent on external validation. It remains grounded and consistent, whether you're at the peak of success or in the valley of struggle. Think of a team leader who just secured a massive client deal after months of work. The arrogant leader takes the stage, basks in the spotlight, and talks about their brilliant strategy and relentless perseverance. The team, who worked countless late nights and contributed key ideas, feels diminished and unappreciated. Their respect for that leader plummets because they feel used. In stark contrast, the humble leader calls the entire team forward. They specifically name the junior analyst who spotted the crucial data point, thank the support staff who handled the logistics, and acknowledge that a fortunate market shift also played a role. This leader then quickly pivots the conversation to the challenging work ahead. This approach does not weaken their authority, it magnifies it. The team feels valued and seen. Their respect for the leader skyrockets because they know this person is secure enough to share the glory and wise enough to understand that sustained success is always a collective effort. This pattern extends far beyond the professional realm into our personal interactions. When you receive a compliment, the Stoic-minded response isn't to deflect it awkwardly or to greedily absorb it. It's to accept it gracefully and then honestly redirect the credit. If someone compliments your beautiful garden, you might say, "Thank you, that means a lot." I've been learning a lot from my neighbor who's been incredibly generous with her advice, and I got lucky with all this sunshine we've been having. This simple act does two things. It makes the person giving the compliment feel that their opinion was valued, and it shines a light on others, strengthening your community bonds. It proves that you are not a black hole for praise, but a conduit that reflects appreciation outward. This generous and humble demeanor makes people want to see you succeed again and again, because they know your success will lift others up with you, rather than being a solitary monument to your own ego. Ultimately, embracing humility ensures that the respect you earn is for your character, not just your accomplishments, making it a respect that endures long after any trophy has tarnished or any record has been broken. True courage, as the Stoics saw it, is not the absence of fear, but the judgment that something else is more important than fear. This 15th pattern asks us to act with conviction precisely when our instincts are screaming at us to play it safe. Seneca, who witnessed immense political volatility and personal danger, wrote extensively about the necessity of bravery. He argued that courage is the foundation upon which all other virtues must stand, because without it, our honesty, fairness, and integrity can be easily toppled by the first sign of threat or discomfort. He observed that sometimes even to live is an act of courage, reminding us that the daily choice to move forward in an uncertain world is itself a brave one. But he pushed further, urging us to actively dare to be wise and to take the actions our wisdom dictates even when they are frightening. This kind of courage is not about reckless bravado or seeking out danger. It's about the quiet, steadfast commitment to do what is right, not what is easy. In the modern context, this rarely means facing a physical threat. More often, it looks like the courage to voice an unpopular opinion in a boardroom when silence would be more comfortable. It's the courage to admit a major mistake to your team instead of hiding it. It's the courage to pivot your entire business strategy based on a new ethical conviction, even if it means short-term financial loss. It's the courage to end a toxic relationship or leave a secure but unfulfilling job. Every one of these actions is fraught with fear, a fear of rejection, fear of blame, fear of the unknown. But it is in these exact moments that your character is most visible to others, and your capacity for earning deep respect is decided. When you consistently act with this kind of principled courage, you become a beacon of reliability for everyone around you. People learn that you won't abandon your values or your team when the pressure mounts. They see that your commitment to truth and integrity is not a fair-weather promise, but a non-negotiable standard you uphold even at great personal cost. This makes you incredibly trustworthy. In a crisis, people won't wonder if you'll crumble or look for an escape hatch. They will look to you because your past actions have proven that you stand your ground. This reliability under fire is what separates a true leader from a mere manager. A manager can execute a plan when everything is going well. A leader guides the ship through the storm, and that requires the courage to make hard calls while others are paralyzed by fear. Consider a historical example Seneca would have known well. Cato the Younger, a Roman senator who became a Stoic icon for his unwavering opposition to the corruption of Julius Caesar. Cato knew that speaking out put a target on his back. He was ridiculed, threatened, and ultimately faced with the choice of surrendering his principles or ending his own life. He chose the latter not as an act of despair, but as a final, definitive act of courage to preserve his freedom and his integrity. While his story is extreme, his legacy wasn't about the outcome of his struggle. It was about the profound respect he earned from friend and foe alike for his utter refusal to be corrupted. Caesar himself, who held all the power, could never command Cato's respect because Cato proved that true power lies in the courage to live and die by one's convictions. In our own lives, we can cultivate this pattern by starting small. Courage is a muscle that must be exercised. It might begin with mustering the courage to give difficult but necessary feedback to a direct report. It could be the courage to ask a stupid question in a meeting to ensure everyone truly understands a complex issue. Each time you choose the courageous path over the comfortable one, you strengthen that muscle and build a reputation. People will notice that you are the one who speaks up about the elephant in the room. You are the one who volunteers for the challenging assignment no one else wants. You are the one who apologizes first after a disagreement. This consistent demonstration of moral bravery creates a ripple effect, inspiring others to act with more courage themselves, and solidifying your role as a person whose respect is not given lightly, but earned through a proven willingness to stand for something real. True strength often reveals itself not in a sudden burst of action, but in the quiet, steady application of effort over time. This brings us to our 16th pattern, which is the conscious cultivation of patience in all your endeavors. The Stoics saw patience not as passive waiting, but as an active, powerful form of strength, a deliberate choice to align your pace with the natural rhythm of events rather than fruitlessly fighting against them. Marcus Aurelius reflected on the nature of the universe itself, observing that everything arises from a process and unfolds according to a rational order. To be impatient, then, is to rebel against the fundamental logic of existence, creating unnecessary turmoil within yourself over things you simply cannot rush. Patience, in the Stoic sense, is the profound understanding that some things require their own time to mature, and that your role is to tend to them diligently without demanding immediate results. This demonstration of patience is a clear signal of self-mastery that others cannot help but notice and respect. In a world that glorifies speed and instant gratification, the person who remains calm and steadfast in the face of delays, obstacles, and frustrations stands out. They don't tap their fingers impatiently in a long queue, venting their annoyance on a cashier. They don't send a flurry of frantic emails when a project timeline extends. Instead, they accept the situation as it is, conserve their energy, and focus their attention on what can be productively done in the meantime. This isn't resignation, it's strategic composure. People are drawn to this steady demeanor because it provides a sense of stability and reassurance. In a professional setting, a patient leader prevents panic from spreading through their team when a deadline shifts, calmly reassessing the plan and redistributing resources. Their team respects them not despite the delay, but because of their graceful and effective handling of it. Consider the profound difference between two approaches to a common frustration. Imagine two farmers planting the same crop. One is impatient, constantly digging up the seeds to check for growth, overwatering them in a desperate attempt to speed things along, and ultimately killing the young shoots with his anxiety. The other farmer understands the seasons. He prepares the soil, plants the seeds, tends to them with consistent care, and then trusts the process, knowing that sunlight, rain, and time must do their work. His patience is not inactivity, it is the wisdom to allow natural processes to unfold. We respect the second farmer immensely because his actions are in harmony with reality. He is cooperating with nature, not trying to dominate it. This same principle applies to mastering a new skill, building a business, or mending a relationship. Rushing only leads to shaky foundations and broken trust, while patience builds something durable and worthy of respect. To cultivate this Stoic patience, begin by consciously reframing moments of waiting from stolen time into gifted time. That 20-minute delay for a train isn't a frustration to be endured. It's 20 minutes you suddenly have to read, to observe the world around you, or to simply let your mind rest. When a colleague is slow to respond to an email instead of fuming, see it as an opportunity to practice your own emotional independence, proving that your peace of mind is not held hostage by someone else's inbox. Each time you choose this patient perspective, you strengthen your resilience and broadcast a message of profound inner strength to everyone watching. You demonstrate that you are not easily flustered or thrown off course by the inevitable hiccups of life. People learn that you are a reliable constant in a chaotic world, and that is a quality that earns a deep, enduring form of respect, as it proves you possess the rare strength to move in harmony with time itself. Giving without any thought of getting something in return might seem counterintuitive in a world that often feels transactional, but for the Stoics, this was a non-negotiable duty. This 17th pattern, practicing generosity without expectation, is about recognizing our fundamental connection to other people and acting for the common good, not for personal gain or praise. Marcus Aurelius frequently meditated on this idea, reminding himself that rational beings are made for cooperation, just as the various parts of the body work together. He saw selfishness as a kind of rebellion against our own nature. The act of giving, therefore, isn't a grand gesture of charity from a position of superiority. It's simply the right and rational thing to do, as natural as a hand reaching out to help the foot when it stumbles. This framing transforms generosity from a choice into a default setting for how to move through the world. When you give freely, whether it's your time, your resources, or your compassion without keeping a mental scorecard, you communicate something powerful about your character. You prove that your interactions are not a covert negotiation. People instinctively sense when a favor comes with invisible strings attached, and that knowledge creates caution and distance. In contrast, a truly selfless act builds immense trust and respect because it is a pure demonstration of your values. It shows that you see the inherent worth in others and feel a sense of responsibility to your shared humanity. This kind of generosity isn't about the scale of the gift, it's about the spirit in which it is given. Holding the door for a stranger, offering sincere advice to a junior colleague without taking credit for their subsequent success, or quietly helping someone in need without ever mentioning it to anyone else, these acts accumulate into a reputation for profound integrity. Consider the difference between two people in a community. The first is known for their lavish donations, but they always make sure their name is on a plaque or their contribution is announced at a banquet. Their generosity, while beneficial, feels like a transaction for social status and public admiration. The second person volunteers their weekends at a local shelter without posting about it on social media, anonymously pays for a neighbor's grocery bill during a hard time, and consistently shares credit for collective successes. Over time, the community's respect for the first person is conditional and often tinged with skepticism, while their respect for the second is deep, authentic, and unwavering. They know this person's compassion is genuine because it asks for nothing in return. This pattern builds a form of respect that is rooted in the certainty of your character. proving that you are motivated by a sincere desire to contribute to the whole, making you a cornerstone of any community and a person others are proud to know and support. The strength of your character isn't measured in a single grand gesture, but in the quiet, daily alignment of your actions with your stated values. This 18th pattern focuses on the immense power of this consistency, a concept the Stoics saw as the very definition of integrity. For them, a philosophy was worthless if it remained a set of elegant ideas discussed in peaceful settings but abandoned the moment difficulty arrived. Epictetus, who lived a life of extreme simplicity, was brutally dismissive of those who would praise wisdom in the lecture hall but fail to practice it in the marketplace. He taught that your principles are not a costume to be put on for show. They are the skin you live in every single day, regardless of who is watching. This unwavering commitment to walking your talk is what transforms abstract values into a lived reality that others can depend on. This consistency is the engine of long-term trust, which is the foundation of all profound respect. People are naturally excellent pattern recognizers. They might not remember every kind thing you said, but they will absolutely detect the pattern of your behavior over time. If you passionately advocate for work-life balance but are always sending emails at midnight, your words become meaningless noise. If you preach the importance of honesty but consistently tell small, convenient lies, people will quickly learn that your word cannot be trusted. This misalignment creates a sense of unpredictability and danger. People never know which version of you they are going to get, and they will instinctively withhold their full trust and respect because the foundation is cracked. Inconsistency reveals a character that is for sale to the highest bidder, whether that bidder is convenience, approval, or short-term gain. Conversely, the individual whose actions are a perfect mirror of their values projects a powerful and attractive stability. Think about a leader who consistently champions transparency. When a project fails, they are the first to stand up and openly share the lessons learned with the entire company, rather than hiding the failure or blaming external factors. When making a difficult decision that will be unpopular, they explain the why behind it with genuine honesty. Their team might not always like the outcome, but they never have to waste energy guessing where their leader stands or deciphering hidden agendas. This leader has built a reputation of such reliable consistency that their team can focus all their energy on the work itself, rather than on office politics or managing their boss's moods. This creates a culture of psychological safety and deep loyalty, because people know exactly what to expect and that their leader will always operate from a core set of principles, even under pressure. This pattern extends into the smallest fibers of daily life. It means that the way you treat the restaurant server is identical to the way you treat the company CEO, because your value of respecting all people does not fluctuate based on someone's perceived status. It means you follow through on the promises you make to yourself, like your commitment to health or learning, with the same seriousness as the promises you make to others. This internal consistency eliminates a tremendous amount of stress and cognitive dissonance. You are no longer managing multiple versions of yourself for different audiences. You simply are who you are everywhere you go. This unified presence is incredibly calming to others and earns a form of respect that is not easily shaken. People learn that your character is not situational. It is a deep, unwavering constant, and in a world of constant change and compromise, that kind of reliability is not just respected, it is cherished. Now, let's turn our attention inward to a practice that acts as the engine for all the patterns we've discussed so far. This 19th pattern is the disciplined habit of reflecting daily on your actions, a ritual the Stoics called their evening review. Think of it as a daily audit of your character, a quiet conversation with yourself at the end of each day to hold up a mirror to your behavior and measure it against your deepest values. The Roman statesman Seneca was a devoted practitioner of this, writing about how he would interrogate his own conduct every night. He would ask himself questions like, what bad habit have you cured today? What fault have you resisted? In what respect are you better? This wasn't an exercise in self-punishment or guilt. It was a rigorous, honest accounting designed for one purpose only: incremental, continuous self-improvement. Engaging in this practice demonstrates a profound level of personal accountability that is impossible to fake and incredibly impressive to witness. Most people go through their days on autopilot, reacting to events without much thought and then repeating the same patterns endlessly. They might feel a flicker of regret after a harsh word or a missed opportunity, but they rarely stop to systematically understand why it happened and how to prevent it tomorrow. The person who commits to a daily review breaks this cycle. They are essentially taking full ownership of their life's trajectory, treating each day as a data point to learn from. When others see that you are your own most honest critic, that you are actively working to identify and correct your own flaws without waiting for anyone else to point them out, their respect for you deepens immeasurably. It shows you are not too proud to admit you are a work in progress and that you value growth more than protecting a perfect image. Imagine two colleagues who both make a significant error in a report. The first one tries to minimize it, blame a tight deadline, and hopes no one notices. The second one, who has cultivated this stoic habit, immediately acknowledges the mistake to their team. That evening, they don't just shrug it off, they sit down and conduct their review. They ask themselves, was I rushing because I was disorganized this morning? Did I skip my usual double-checking process because I was overconfident? Did I fail to ask for help when I was unsure? By pinpointing the root cause, they develop a concrete strategy to prevent a repeat, perhaps preparing materials the night before or setting a calendar reminder for a final review. The next day, they might even share this insight with their manager, not to rehash the error, but to demonstrate their proactive plan for improvement. This transforms a failure from a mark of shame into a stepping stone for growth. A manager will trust and respect that employee far more than one who never seems to learn from their missteps, because they see a tangible commitment to getting better every single day. This daily reflection also inoculates you against one of the greatest enemies of respect: hypocrisy. It's much harder to preach patience to your team if you just spent your evening review confronting your own impatient outburst from that afternoon. The practice forces a constant, gentle realignment between your aspirations and your actions. Over time, this builds that coveted consistency we discussed earlier, because you are constantly sanding down the rough edges of your character. You become more patient because you've honestly acknowledged your impatience. You become more generous because you've noted your own tendencies toward selfishness. This isn't about achieving perfection by tomorrow. It's about being 1% better than you were yesterday. That relentless, quiet commitment to refining your own soul is perhaps the most powerful respect-building pattern of all, because it needs no audience. The respect it earns is simply a natural byproduct of becoming a person who truly deserves it. Picture this common scene: a project at work goes off the rails, a deadline is missed, and the immediate aftermath is a chorus of complaints about unrealistic expectations, faulty technology, or uncooperative teammates. In that moment, everyone is pointing a finger and no one is looking inward. It is precisely here that the 20th Stoic pattern offers a radical alternative, one that immediately sets you apart and commands a deeper level of respect. This is the discipline of avoiding complaint and blame, a principle Epictetus, a philosopher who knew profound powerlessness as a slave, championed with fierce intensity. He taught that while we cannot control external events, we always retain absolute control over our judgments and our responses to those events. To complain about a situation is to foolishly argue with reality itself, and to blame others is to willingly hand over your own power and agency. He famously stated, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters," framing our interpretation and response as the only things that truly belong to us. When you choose to eliminate complaint and blame from your vocabulary, you are not ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine. You are making a strategic decision to bypass the unproductive stage of fault-finding and immediately advance to the productive stage of solution building. This shift in focus is like a spotlight that illuminates your character for everyone to see. The person who complains is essentially announcing their own helplessness. They are a victim of circumstances. The person who refuses to complain, however, is broadcasting their capability and resilience. They are a force of agency in the world. This proactive stance is incredibly attractive and respected because it is so rare. People are naturally drawn to those who focus on answers rather than dwelling on problems, as these are the individuals who actually make progress and improve situations for everyone involved. Consider a team facing a sudden budget cut that derails a key initiative. The predictable reaction is a group gripe session about leadership's short-sightedness. The individual who embodies this Stoic pattern would listen, acknowledge the difficulty, and then pivot the conversation with a simple, powerful question. Okay, the budget is cut. That's our new reality. So what can we do with the resources we still have? How can we adapt our plan to still deliver value? This person doesn't deny the challenge, but they refuse to be defined by it. They are not a passive passenger on the journey. They are grabbing the wheel. Their colleagues, who are mired in frustration, suddenly feel a surge of energy and possibility. They begin to brainstorm and collaborate, and their respect for the person who guided them out of the negativity is immense. That individual is immediately seen as a leader, not because of their title, but because of their mindset. This pattern also serves as a powerful protective barrier for your own reputation. Constant complainers are often subtly avoided. They are seen as energy drains who add to the problem rather than contributing to the cure. Their constant focus on blame creates an environment of distrust and defensiveness, as everyone wonders if they will be the next target. In contrast, the person who never points fingers cultivates an aura of trust and safety. People know they can make a mistake around you without being thrown under the bus. They know that if a shared project fails, you will be the first to ask, "What could I have done better?" rather than, "Whose fault was this?" This unwavering focus on personal responsibility and collective problem solving makes you a sought-after collaborator and a respected confidant, as you prove through your actions that your primary loyalty is to progress, not to pity or blame. Think of your personal life not as an open book for anyone to browse, but as a private library. Some sections are open to the public, others are for trusted members only, and the most sensitive areas require special permission to access. This 21st Stoic pattern is the practice of judicious discretion in sharing personal matters, a principle deeply rooted in the Stoic appreciation for inner fortitude and rational boundaries. While modern culture often equates oversharing with authenticity and connection, the Stoics understood that not every thought, feeling, or personal struggle needs an audience. They valued a measured approach to vulnerability, where sharing was a deliberate choice based on wisdom and trust, not an impulsive reaction to every emotional whim. This careful curation of your personal narrative is a powerful, yet often overlooked, method for commanding long-term respect. The core of this practice lies in understanding the profound difference between secrecy and discretion. Secrecy often stems from shame or a desire to hide, while discretion is an active exercise of judgment and self-protection. It's the wisdom to know that your inner world, your doubts, your fears, your family conflicts, your financial struggles, is a precious ecosystem that can be easily disrupted by the wrong influences. When you share these sensitive details indiscriminately, you hand over pieces of your emotional equilibrium to people who may not have the skill, the desire, or the right to handle them responsibly. The Stoic aims to be the sole author of their own peace of mind, and that requires guarding the manuscript from unnecessary editors and critics. This isn't about building walls of isolation. It's about installing a discerning gatekeeper at the door of your mind. This discernment directly builds respect because it demonstrates a high degree of self-possession and emotional intelligence. Consider two colleagues during a stressful period at work. One consistently unloads their personal anxieties in the break room, detailing marital spats, childcare woes, and financial pressures. While they may initially garner sympathy, over time, this behavior can paint them as unstable, unreliable, and unable to manage their own life, which subtly erodes professional respect. Their personal drama becomes part of their professional identity. The other colleague maintains a calm, professional demeanor. They might confide in a single trusted mentor over coffee about a specific challenge, seeking wise counsel, but they do not broadcast their struggles to the entire office. This person is perceived as composed, capable, and in control. Their privacy signals strength and competence, making others more likely to trust them with greater responsibility because they appear unshaken by external chaos. Furthermore, practicing discretion is a powerful tool for preventing the misunderstandings and unwanted drama that inevitably follow oversharing. Personal information, once released, takes on a life of its own. It can be misinterpreted, distorted through gossip, or even used against you in moments of conflict. By choosing to keep your private matters private, you eliminate entire categories of potential problems. You avoid being the subject of office gossip. You prevent people from forming judgments about your capabilities based on your personal life. You stop giving potential adversaries ammunition that could be used to undermine you. This creates a clean, professional, and respectable presence. People may not know every detail about your life, but they will know you as someone who is predictable, professional, and free from distracting personal baggage. This clarity allows your work, your ideas, and your character to stand on their own merit, unobscured by the static of personal drama. In essence, by saying less, you ultimately command more respect as you present a self-contained and integrated individual whose value is evident in their actions, not their confessions. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who could have indulged any personal whim, instead filled his private journal with relentless reminders of his duty to others. He wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee," framing the individual's purpose as inextricably linked to the health of the whole community. For the Stoics, this wasn't a suggestion, it was a fundamental requirement of a rational life. They argued that we are social creatures by nature, designed for cooperation, and to live only for oneself is a rebellion against our own humanity. This 20-second pattern moves beyond personal discipline and into the realm of our social obligations, focusing on the conscious cultivation of a sense of duty toward your community. It's about recognizing that your circle of concern must extend beyond your own immediate interests, and that active, responsible involvement in the world around you is a powerful pathway to earning profound and lasting respect. This practice builds respect because it demonstrates a crucial shift in motivation. People are naturally skeptical of actions that appear self-serving. But when they see you volunteering your time, mentoring a junior colleague, picking up litter in your local park, or simply being the person who organizes the neighborhood watch, they witness something different. They see that you are invested in something larger than yourself. You are not just building your own empire, you are tending to the shared garden. This signals that your values are rooted in contribution, not just consumption. It shows you care about the well-being of the ecosystem you are a part of, and that kind of other-focused commitment is both rare and deeply admirable. People begin to respect you not just for what you have achieved, but for what you are willing to give without any guarantee of personal return. Consider the contrasting legacies of two successful business owners in a small town. One is known for their wealth and their large, secluded home on the hill. They might donate money to local causes, but they are never personally seen, never engaged in the messy work of community life. Their contributions, while helpful, feel transactional and distant. The other business owner might be less wealthy, but they are a fixture at town hall meetings. They sponsor the local little league team and actually show up to the games. They create internship programs for high school students and know their employees' families by name. This person's sense of duty is active and visible. The respect they command is of a completely different quality. It is warm, personal, and unwavering. The community sees them not as a benefactor from on high, but as a neighbor, a partner, and a pillar of the town itself. Their commitment inspires others to contribute, creating a virtuous cycle that strengthens the entire community's fabric. This sense of duty doesn't require grand gestures or public office. It operates in the small, daily choices that define your character. It's the duty to be an honest and fair participant in the marketplace, even when you could easily cut corners for more profit. It's the duty to be a thoughtful and engaged citizen, staying informed and voting not just for your own benefit, but for the common good. It's the duty to be a reliable friend, a present family member, and a conscientious neighbor. When you consistently show up for these roles, you build a reputation as someone who can be counted on, not just in a crisis, but in the ordinary flow of life. This reliability in fulfilling your social duties makes you a cornerstone of trust. People learn that you will do the right thing simply because it is the right thing to do, and that unwavering commitment to a higher purpose is perhaps the most solid foundation upon which true, long-term respect is built. Consider for a moment the immense power you hand to someone the instant you allow their words to sting you. The Stoics understood this dynamic intimately, and their 23rd pattern offers a masterclass in emotional self-defense, responding to insults with profound indifference. This is not about suppressing anger or pretending you didn't hear the slight. It's about achieving a genuine state of inner clarity where the insult simply fails to land, because you recognize it for what it truly is, not a statement about your worth, but a reflection of the other person's internal state. Marcus Aurelius advised himself to see an insult as a piece of rock thrown at you. The damage isn't in the rock itself, but in your decision to stand in its path and let it strike you. By choosing to step aside, you demonstrate a level of emotional sovereignty that is both disarming and deeply respectable. This technique of non-reaction is a strategic display of strength, not weakness. When someone lobs an insult your way, they are often engaging in a primitive bid for power or a desperate cry for attention. They are attempting to provoke a reaction, to draw you into their emotional drama and bring you down to their level. The moment you react with anger, defensiveness, or a counter-insult, you have handed them a victory. You have confirmed that they have power over your emotional state. In contrast, responding with calm indifference is the ultimate power move. It communicates that their opinion holds no weight in your internal court of judgment. You might offer a simple, unbothered, "I see you feel that way," or even just a slight, unperturbed smile before carrying on with your day. This refusal to engage doesn't make you a pushover. It reveals that you operate on a different plane of existence, one where your self-worth is not up for public debate. The respect this earns is multifaceted. First, the insulter is often left baffled and disarmed. Their weapon of choice has proven utterly ineffective, and they are left standing alone on their battlefield. Onlookers who might have been anticipating a dramatic confrontation instead witness your unshakable composure. They see someone who cannot be easily knocked off balance, and that stability is incredibly attractive. It marks you as a person of substance, someone who is too secure and too focused on meaningful pursuits to be sidetracked by petty squabbles. This pattern also protects your reputation from long-term damage. A heated public argument can leave everyone involved looking childish and unprofessional, creating a story that is remembered far longer than the original insult. By choosing indifference, you deny the conflict oxygen, allowing it to die instantly and preserving your dignity intact. To master this, the Stoics employed a powerful reframing tool. Instead of hearing a personal attack, they would hear a diagnosis. Epictetus suggested that if someone tells you that you are a donkey, your job isn't to argue. Your job is to simply realize that this person holds the incorrect opinion that you are a donkey. That is their problem to manage, not yours. You can pity their lack of judgment, but you feel no need to correct them. This mental shift moves the insult from being an assault on your character to being a curious data point about theirs. It allows you to observe the interaction with detached curiosity rather than emotional involvement. This doesn't mean you never address genuine, constructive criticism, but you learn to instantly discern the difference between feedback offered in good faith and an insult designed merely to wound. By greeting the latter with a wall of serene indifference, you build a fortress of self-respect that no outside force can ever breach, proving that the highest form of power is often the quiet decision to not engage in the battle at all. This brings us to a pattern that serves as the ultimate test of your commitment to all the others, a discipline that separates momentary wishes from enduring legacy. This 24th pattern is the conscious prioritization of long-term goals over the siren call of short-term pleasures, a practice the Stoics called the art of delayed gratification. For them, this wasn't about self-denial for its own sake, but about a rational calculation of true value. They argued that the most meaningful and respectable life is built not by indulging every passing desire, but by consistently choosing actions that align with your deepest values and most ambitious visions, even when those actions are difficult, boring, or offer no immediate reward. It is the ultimate expression of self-command, proving that you are the master of your impulses, not their servant. The profound respect this earns stems from a simple, observable truth. Everyone is tempted by the easy path, but few possess the strength to consistently choose the right one. When people witness you repeatedly foregoing fleeting comforts for a larger purpose, they cannot help but admire your focus and determination. It demonstrates that you are playing a different game entirely, one measured in years and decades, not in days and weeks. This long-term orientation signals a maturity and seriousness of purpose that is incredibly attractive. People begin to see you as someone with a vision, someone who is building something meaningful. They trust your decisions more because they know those decisions are not being made based on a momentary whim or a craving for approval, but are guided by a steady, far-sighted compass. This makes you a reliable partner, a trustworthy leader, and an inspiring figure, as your actions consistently point toward a future that is worth sacrificing for. Consider the starkly different reputations of two entrepreneurs. The first is swayed by every new trend, chasing quick cash grabs and easy wins. They might experience short bursts of success, but their business lacks a coherent core, and their team feels perpetually unstable, never sure what direction they'll be pulled in next. Their respect is shallow, built on a foundation of sand. The second entrepreneur has a clear 10-year vision for their company's impact. They consistently reinvest profits into research and development instead of taking a larger salary. They turn down lucrative deals that would compromise their company's ethical standards. They invest heavily in employee training, knowing it will pay off in loyalty and skill years down the line. This path is harder and slower, but the respect it cultivates is monumental. Their team, their customers, and their investors see a leader of unwavering conviction. They trust that this person will not sell out for a short-term gain, and that reliability makes people want to follow them into any challenge because they believe in the destination. This Stoic discipline extends far beyond business into the architecture of our personal lives. It's the choice to save money for a secure future instead of spending it on an impulse buy that will be forgotten in a month. It's the decision to spend your evening learning a difficult new skill instead of scrolling through social media. It's the commitment to have a tough, honest conversation with a partner to strengthen the relationship, rather than avoiding the conflict to preserve a temporary peace. Each time you make one of these choices, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. You are strengthening your resolve and building a track record of integrity that others can see. This pattern proves that your ambitions are not just daydreams, they are blueprints that you are actively building every single day, brick by brick, through small, consistent acts of willpower. This visible dedication to a meaningful future is perhaps the most powerful way to show the world that you are not here merely to pass the time, but to leave a lasting mark, earning a respect that is rooted in the certainty of your purpose and the power of your perseverance. And so we arrive at the final and most encompassing pattern, the philosophical heart that pumps life into all the others. This 25th pattern is the ultimate aim of Stoic practice, to live in accordance with nature and reason. At first glance, this might sound abstract or even mystical, but for the Stoics, it was the most practical and grounding principle imaginable. To live according to nature meant to understand and accept your place in the grand, rational order of the universe. It meant using your unique human gift, the faculty of reason, to navigate the world virtuously, just as a bee uses its instinct to pollinate flowers and contribute to the hive. This is not a call to retreat to the wilderness, but a command to fully embrace your role as a rational, social being, making choices that are in harmony with your own true nature and the well-being of the common whole. This principle acts as the master framework that integrates every pattern we've explored into a single, coherent way of being. Think of it as the golden thread weaving through the tapestry. The self-control you practice with your emotions, that's your reason governing your animal impulses, aligning your internal nature, the focus on what you can control. That's your reason discerning your unique role within the larger, unfolding natural order of events. Your generosity, your duty, your courage, these are all expressions of your social nature, your inherent drive to cooperate and contribute, which is just as natural to a human as building a dam is to a beaver. When you live this way, you are not fighting against the current of reality. You are moving with it, using your rational mind as a rudder to steer a purposeful course. This harmonious existence eliminates the internal friction that comes from resisting what is, wanting what you cannot have, or acting against your own values. The result is a profound sense of peace and unwavering integrity that is visible to everyone you meet. The respect this holistic approach generates is of a different magnitude altogether. It's not just respect for a single trait like patience or honesty. It's a deep, abiding respect for the entirety of your character. People may not be able to articulate the philosophy behind it, but they sense the integration. They see the person whose actions are perfectly aligned with their words, whose calm is unshakable because it is built on a rational acceptance of reality, and whose kindness is not a tactic but a natural expression of their understanding that we are all connected. This person embodies wisdom. They don't just know what is right, they do what is right as naturally as they breathe. This consistency across every domain of life, personal, professional, social, creates a powerful aura of authenticity. There is no gap between their public and private self, no performance to maintain. They are simply, wholly, and consistently themselves. Ultimately, this is how the 25 patterns fuse together to build a legacy of respect that endures. It's not about manipulating perceptions or checking boxes on a list of behaviors. It is about the slow, deliberate, and daily work of sculpting your character into something that is rational, virtuous, and strong, a self that is in right relationship with nature, with others, and with itself. This is the final and most powerful pattern because it is the source from which all the others flow. By choosing to live each day according to nature and reason, you become a living example of the Stoic ideal. You demonstrate that a life of purpose, integrity, and profound respect is not a distant fantasy, but a present possibility, available to anyone willing to pick up the tools of philosophy and begin the work. And there you have it, 25 Stoic patterns, each one a timeless principle for building a character that naturally commands long-term respect. We began with the foundational practice of self-control, mastering your impulses so your actions stem from reason, not reaction. We explored embracing voluntary discomfort to build resilience and focusing only on what you can control to channel your energy effectively. We discussed the power of speaking with purpose and brevity, and the mental fortitude built through premeditating challenges. Then we moved into how to balance empathy with objectivity, lead by example rather than words, and accept criticism with grace. We covered holding your composure in arguments, practicing daily gratitude, and choosing integrity over the approval of others. We delved into the commitment to lifelong learning, the art of mindful listening, and the humility to share credit for your successes. We examined the courage to act with conviction, the strength found in patience, and the generosity that expects nothing in return. We emphasized the importance of unwavering consistency, the wisdom of daily self-reflection, and the power in avoiding complaint and blame. We considered the discretion to guard your private matters, the sense of duty to your community, and the strategic indifference to insults. Finally, we looked at prioritizing long-term goals over short-term pleasures, all culminating in the ultimate aim: to live in accordance with nature and reason, harmonizing your actions with your deepest values and the world around you. When you consistently apply these patterns, something remarkable happens. It's not about putting on a performance or manipulating how others see you. Instead, you undergo a genuine transformation from the inside out. Your need for external validation diminishes because your self-worth becomes rooted in your own unwavering principles. This internal shift radiates outward, fundamentally changing how you are perceived. People no longer see someone who is easily shaken by criticism, desperate for approval, or derailed by misfortune. They see a person of profound depth and reliability, someone whose calm is contagious, whose word is trustworthy, and whose presence makes others feel safer and more capable. This is how respect is earned, not by demanding it, but by embodying the qualities that make it impossible to withhold. This journey doesn't require you to master all 25 patterns at once. That would be overwhelming and contrary to the Stoic virtue of taking things one step at a time. The most powerful way to begin is to choose just one pattern that resonates with you right now and commit to practicing it for the next week. Perhaps it's the evening review, taking 5 minutes each night to reflect on where you acted with virtue and where you can improve. Maybe it's eliminating complaint for 24 hours, focusing only on solutions. Or it could be practicing mindful listening in your very next conversation, giving someone your full attention without planning your response. The key is to start small, but to start today. True growth thrives in community, and your experiences are invaluable. I encourage you to share in the comments which one pattern you've chosen to focus on and what you discover along the way. By sharing your journey, you contribute to a powerful collective wisdom, inspiring others and holding yourself accountable. You become part of a community dedicated not to perfection, but to progress, a group of individuals committed to building a life of purpose, integrity, and mutual respect. So take that first step, pick one pattern, practice it with intention, and then come back here and tell us about it. Your story might be the very thing that gives someone else the courage to begin their own.